Hi there, this is Kim Klaver, and I'm delighted to meet you. I'm also delighted that you got my book, If My Product's So Great, How Come I Can't Sell It? That book actually was about 10 years in the making, because for 10 years before I wrote that book, I was in network marketing and had built 2 or 3 companies already to the top of the heap. And I was always surprised by how many people had trouble knowing what to say. And then I learned over the years that it wasn't so much that people didn't know what to say, it's what they said they didn't want to say or didn't like to say, or what they were told to say made other people kind of turn off. So I think you'll find, if you take the time to read just a few pages, 2 or 3 to start, you'll find ways to talk to people that they're not promotional language. You don't sound like a talking, walking color brochure. You actually sound like a normal person, and you talk about things that other people have an interest in, namely what the product has done for you, and that you're looking for somebody just like that. So you don't come across like a walking billboard. And that's a big deal in our industry, because people stop talking because they don't like what they have to say, and they don't like what it does to other people. So hopefully this will help you say things that make you sound like a normal person, like the way you were in the first place. Learning how to talk to people is very useful. And the ebook, If My Product's So Great, How Come I Can't Sell It, will come to you in your email. So check your email in maybe 5-10 minutes from the time that you opted into it, and you'll see a message that says, here is your ebook, and there's a link inside, and you can just open it right there on your computer, okay? And remember, if you're not on my list already, check your spam or your junk folders for those emails, all right? And now I have a special surprise for you. I want to tell you a story that most people don't know. And one of the things I used learning how to talk to people to build myself up to 6 companies over 27 years, to the top of 6 of them, is certain language patterns. And in the first company that I did, I came from the real estate business background, so I had a good sense of how to talk to people. I had some confidence in myself, and I had certain language patterns that I used that I never really was conscious of. But in the first company, those specific language patterns, for lack of a better word, got me more. I sold more water filters in my first 60 or 90 days than anyone had ever done in that company's 25-year history. And I did it all on the phone after my real estate conversations with a, oh, by the way. And then I would say my little piece and ask my questions. And as a result of that, in the first 90 days in my first company, they asked me to come to the national convention and tell people how I ever got so many sales. I think I sold in the first 90 days about $60,000 or $65,000 worth of filters, all to people who were customers, because when I first began, I didn't know you should sponsor people. So people went, well, how did you sell that much stuff? Actually, a kind of a fun note, when they introduced me some 27 years ago on stage, they said, and here is a lady who has made, I forget how much money, in those days you could still talk about it, it was like $25,000 in her first 60 or 70 days. And she did it all by selling the product. She didn't have any recruits, she sold the product. So here is living proof that someone can make this amount of money and actually sell the product to customers. And here she is. And this was quite an amazing feat to them. To me, I really couldn't understand what was the big deal, because I'm in real estate. We sell properties and we lease properties, and that's what we do. And so we make commissions on a $1 million building or a $500,000 little property or a $2 million property. That's kind of what we did. So this particular product, we sold it for a couple $100. So it wasn't like a big deal, but we sold it. That's what I knew how to do. So I learned, of course, years later, how so many people make most of their money in the business through recruiting and building organizations. But at that time, this was news to me that they were so excited about that. And it was news to them because no one in that company had really ever focused on customers, especially at that time. And that's just an interesting tidbit about customers and sales and money and income and whatnot. I still have the video to this day. And I analyzed the language years later, and there were certain questions that are structured in a certain way. And I have a little webinar coming up here that's going to show you how I did that, what the language was, what the questions were exactly, so that you can model them. And at the end, there's a little bonus offer for you, Because this same type of language you can use if you want to have events that you control, say at your house or at a place of yours, a bookstore, or say a club, a community center, even kind of a classy hotel. Because the language that you use and how you ask will immediately kind of separate the people that are the right ones from the wrong ones, and nobody has any hard feelings. So I'd like to show you how I sold more water filters than anybody in the company's history at that time, or since, they tell me now. And of course I mean to customers, not distributors. Are you ready? Who is your ideal customer? You need to know who that is. You may have heard from people that, oh, everyone's going to want this, or the product sells itself. And we all have discovered that this is really not how it is. So you need to know who your ideal customer is. Second, you need to know how to attract them. These two things together are what we're going to talk about the most today. And I'm going to give it to you as an example of how I sold more water filters in 90 days than anybody else in the company ever. Because it focuses on, one, that I just gave you, that it's not about me. Two, who is the ideal customer. And three, how to attract them. Because this is what you want to do. So let me show you how that worked. I was in the real estate business at the time. This is 26 years ago. And I had just bought a couple of water filters, and I had decided to sell them. I'd never sold water filters. I'd never been, it was my first network marketing company ever. I was in the real estate business. And it so happened that I was at a Taekwondo event, and at a break, we were sitting around resting, and the waiters came with water. And this guy, who was a professor friend of mine, had this little water filter, and he was filtering the water at the table. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool, because had been buying for the last 8 or 10 years these big gallons of water. And we would send people to the store and lug them home and bring them up the stairs and have these gallons of water, single gallons. Some of you are too young to remember, but believe me, they had them. And I thought, well, gee, if I could take this with me to all the restaurants, and I'd never have to ask for separate filtered water, I'd just bring a little filter and use it. And I said, what other kind of filters do you have? He said, well, they have them for the sink, they have them for the shower. And I thought, bingo, that's what I want. So I had decided to market those along with doing my real estate business. And so the day I decided to make my first stab at seeing if I could sell any of these, at the end of every conversation, I would start by that way, that's a picture of me at 3 years old selling my auntie on coming over to her house on my bike. And my mom took it to let me know that you were selling when you were 3 years old. So there you are. At the end of every conversation. Now, those of you that really want to learn this, tune in and don't surf on Facebook, because you're going to miss the little secret that you can use to get yourself 50 to 100 people showing up at your event and have a third of them buy your biggest package. If you want that, tune in, because here is a way that you can find your ideal customer and attract them. So I would say at the end of these, whatever the conversation was about the property or the tenant, whatever, say, can I ask you something that has nothing to do with anything we just talked about? Okay. It's about your water. And people would say, well, sure. What's the question? And I would say, do you buy the bottle stuff for $1 a gallon? That's kind of what it looked like in those days. I mean, the small bottles were just not nearly as ever present as they are now. This is what we had. Do you buy it for $1 a gallon? Or you drink the caca out of the faucet? Okay. That was the question. Notice what the question is about. Just answer that for yourself. Okay. So I got one of two answers. One is, I get the bottled water for $1 a gallon. A lot of people did that. I wasn't the only one. And this, of course, some people got the Alhambra with the big Alhambra trucks in front of your house. Or two, I drink what you said out of the faucet. What's caca about the water from the faucet, Kim? Ha, ha, ha. Like that. So this gave me an opening, and it gave me their attention, because no matter what they said, they wanted to know, well, what's the rest of the story here? So here's what I did. So if they said they drank the bottled water for $1 a gallon, I would say that's what I've been doing for 10 years. But now I've got this little gizmo, and it filters my water for 5 cents a gallon. Now notice two things here. You see the red, I've been doing this for 10 years. That's what I've been doing for 10 years. It was true. But what it did is it made me one of them. We were both bottled water buyers. We already had the values that we're paying $1 a gallon because we really care about the water. We don't want to drink anything but the bottled water. So that immediately gave me a relationship that I didn't have before. okay? Because we're both doing high-end water. And then I told them, now I've got this little gizmo, and it filters my water for 5 cents a gallon, okay? So they go, really? So how does that work? I mean, nobody even had heard of filters like this, certainly not in my neck of the woods. And I tell them it's a filter. You put it right on the faucet or under your sink, and presto, that's what I do. And no more schlepping. No more schlepping these big gallons. And would you like to try one? Because in those days, what we did with that product is they called it the puppy dog approach. People would try it, and we'd bring it out there. And I put on plenty of these myself, but I got to be so busy, I hired college kids to go out on weekends with pickup trucks and deliver them all and put them all in because I just didn't have time to do them anymore. I had so many people wanting to try them. So that was the process, okay? Now notice, there was no name of any product. There was no name of a company. You guys are tuning into this, I hope. No expletives about how great and amazing it was, okay? No jabbering about the type of carbon filter. Now, a lot of people who sell bottled water, of course, today people are a little bit more educated than they were then about water. But in those days, a lot of people didn't know much about it. But the company had inside their package a lot of brochures, including a big diatribe about block carbon filter and granular carbon filter. And of course, they encourage you to talk about this kind of filter. Well, I didn't ever mention it. I never even showed them the brochure because I personally didn't care. My measure was I liked the water. And I had been drinking bottled water for 8 or 10 years. And I liked the stuff that came out of that little blue filter. And I liked the stuff that came out of my faucet. So I didn't care about the filter. I figured my judgment is good enough and whatever's in there is working because I have really good taste buds. So I consequently did not talk about that with anybody else. Okay, I just want to be sure that you notice that because it's very, very important. It's nothing about us, our product, the company, the technology, because nobody cared and almost nobody asked. They didn't know what it was till the truck pulled up at the house and one of the college kids ran out with it and they said, oh, it's that. Okay, they didn't know what it was. Nobody cared. What happened is they saw a benefit that they wanted and they didn't realize that they could have it until I told them. I want to be sure that this is clear to everybody. Do you see how this works? What if they ask? You tell them. It happened to be NSA. I mean, you wouldn't not answer, say, I'm not going to tell you. But nobody asked. That's the point. Most people don't. You see, what happens is normal people don't normally ask these questions when they're engaged in you solving a problem that they have, because everybody's interested in solving the problem. Now, a network marketer is a different cup of tea. They'll say, what's the company before you can open your mouth? Because they just want to know if they're not already in it or they've been in it or they know people in it, or it's a very different thing. So, but when you're talking to normal people and solving a problem that they have, and they're not in a network marketing company, that's true for all businesses. If you're an MD and you talk about an issue, the MD is going to say, well, is that this or that or this or that? Because we're all in the know. But outside of that, and you want to bring people in because you want to have a lot of customers, many of whom will become distributors and do these parties themselves, by the way. We had a lot of that. So the key is they were concerned about that benefit, and that's where their mind was. And they didn't, so with this first group, the people who were paying $1 a gallon, they saw a benefit that they didn't realize that they could have. And what was the benefits? Anybody know what the benefits were? What were the 2 benefits that they got that they didn't know they could have until I told them? Anybody see that? Anybody want to put that in there? What's one of the benefits? I'll tell you right now. I just want to see if anybody wants to guess.
Better water, saving money.
Now remember, these people that I'm talking about, they already were paying $1 a gallon. They were already paying. What's the benefit that they didn't realize they could have until I told them? They already had the filtered water. Somebody said save time, save some money, right? So instead of $1 a gallon, it was a nickel a gallon. That's a benefit they didn't know they could have till I told them. I didn't know it either till I bought it. And what's the other benefit? No schlepping. Yeah, you got it, Vic. Okay, so here's what happened to the folks who asked about the caca water out of the faucet. See, and these are the audiences. You see, so what is the ideal audience for part of this? Remember in the diagram I showed you? The ideal audience is people that are already paying that much money, in this example, and they didn't know they could get it for less or not have to schlep. You see? So you find these values in your product depending on what you market so that you can relate to someone else and see whether or not there's a value match, because that's what's going to cause your customers to come and line up outside your door, is a value match, belief match, because you've solved the problem and they didn't know they could get that solution. Okay, so here's the people who asked about the caca water out of the faucet. Of course they would say, so Kim, why do you have to call it caca out of the faucet? I mean, you really have to always be like that. And I would say, well, let me tell you why. I don't touch faucet water because it's bleach water. That's the reason I drink the bottled stuff at $1 a gallon. I did at that time. And now, of course, everything in my house is filtered up the yin-yang. But that's why I told them. I don't touch faucet water. It's bleach water. I buy expensive hand creams. I've done that for years. And why would I want to run bleach water over my hands every day? Chlorine is bleach. A lot of people don't realize this. And you drink it. If you drink out of the faucet every day, you're bleaching your insides every day of your life. If you take a bath I can't even think of it, what you're doing to your skin. If you care about your skin, now if you don't mind looking like a prune when you're 29 or 35, hey, whatever. But why, if you're spending money on expensive hand cream, and if you care how your skin looks, why would you run bleach water over your hands every day? And I would ask them that. I also use pricey face and body creams. So why would I stand under the shower and get bleached every single day? I mean, can you imagine it? There you are, singing in the shower and getting bleached, drenched in bleach every day. To me, this is crazy. It's absolutely cuckoo. So that's the reason I was able to market this, because this is my feeling about water. It's my belief about it, and whether it's right or wrong, I've lived by it for probably now almost 40 years. So what does it do? What does bleach do to your skin? It dries it out. Many people had no idea. So I gave them a piece of knowledge that they didn't have. Now, the water people who already were buying $1 a gallon, did they know about the water, the caca out of the faucet? Yes or no? Did they know? Yes or no? Yes, they knew. That's correct. See, so that's not the thing they learned. It's the people who were not drinking bottled water who didn't know what was in the faucet. Okay, just making sure everybody gets that. And they were as disgusted, some of them, as I was, the moment I found out. The moment they found out what came out of the faucet, they were as disgusted as I was. Let me give you my results. The people who were disgusted bought one, that's for sure. I'd say 60 to 65% of the people tried one. They say, yeah, let me try it for 4 or 5 days and see if you love it. That's what happened. And of those, about 60 to 65% kept one. So by no means all. I want to make sure that you all know that. This is not everybody by any means. Out of 10 people I said this to, 4 decided to either keep the bottled water or keep drinking caca out of the faucet. Those are their values. It's totally up to them. But 6 or so said, yeah, I'll try one. Either the people who drank bottled water or the people who drank the caca said that, about the same percentage. And about 60 to 65% of them kept one, bought one. And that's how I sold more water filters in that company's 25-year history at that time than anybody else in my first 90 days there. And it was selling customers. That's kind of what happened. So in terms of what I promised you in the email, what some people forget is, number one, it cannot at first be about us or our thing. So in that first initial approach, when you're inviting to someone who doesn't know really, they might know you, but they don't know anything about what you have, it must not be at first about our thing. It's like going on a date and telling the guy or the girl, whoever you've got, how great you are. Let me tell you how wonderful I am. Oh, I have this and I only weigh this much. And man, I'm a really good pianist and that's kind of how we come across. And on a date with a person, what attracts people is somebody does something that you didn't expect. They demonstrate or they express a belief and you go, yeah, I can't stand that, politician either. Or they open the door for you. Or you notice that they order all organic. And through their demonstration of their behavior and what they do, you kind of either go, oh my gosh, I'd never want to live with somebody who eats all organic because I don't mind blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, it endears you to them. So people are living and acting out their values. and their issues and their problems. And that's why the first conversation can never be about anything about us or the product. Okay, so any of this stuff, it's the greatest company, the greatest product, the greatest CEO, blah, 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 turns people off. Okay, now how did I determine my ideal customer? I did it right in the conversation. See, I didn't go around saying you need to be drinking good water. I asked the question, what kind of water do you drink? So it's a value question. Just a plain and simple question. Okay, that's how I figured out who the ideal customer was and was not. And then I framed it with my values that I had already had for years. Do you drink the bottled stuff for $1 a gallon? And schlep, of course, or do you drink the caca out of the faucet? Now that came to me because my beliefs are so deep-seated about this issue. And if you have deep beliefs about issues like this yourself, these questions will come right out of your head. And in the program I'm going to offer you at the end, of course, we'll have a little structure to help you come up with that stuff, okay? All right, so we talked about values first. I got in particular, their water values. And this can be around anything, supplements, pet food, legal services. The key is to figure out how to do this part so that you get your ideal customer, you see. And that way I could see who was an ideal customer and who was not one as it related to their and my water values. Okay, I want to be sure everybody gets that. So the last thing we talked about, okay, is product name, company name, or science, or the ingredients of the product. Okay, have I sold you on this that you will not be doing this anymore when you invite anybody to anything? You say, I will not do that again. What it does, because if you do it, the people's eyes, their eyes are going to glaze over. It's like you bragging on your first date about how great you are, or how great your parents are, or how great your relatives are, or how great your neighborhood is, or whatever. People just, it's like, you know, those people who bring their kids and all they do is talk about their kids and how special they are and how beautiful they are and how smart they are and how the teacher is just really stupid and doesn't see it and like that. Those people, do you want to come across like those people? Yeah, don't ever, ever, ever do that again. When the time comes, after they join, maybe, they might talk about that because it's kind of validation. Okay, so those who bought, here's what they wanted. They wanted to pay a nickel and no more schlepping instead of $1. So that's the difference. This happened to be a price issue. They wanted to pay 5 cents a gallon instead of $1. Now, what they had to do, of course, some people said, well, you mean I have to pay $100 for this filter or $120, whatever it was, at once? It's like, yeah. And some people didn't buy because they didn't want to do that. They'd rather keep paying $1 a gallon because they could buy like 5 a week and it would be $5 a week. Of course, over a year, they're paying 20 times more. But because the increments are small, some people don't see that and would just as soon keep paying $1 a gallon because they'd have to buy 120 gallons to pay $120 and they wouldn't really notice it too much because it's over the year. But this is the kind of classic investment mistake that people like Warren Buffett talk about. So you pay your $120 and you're paying 5 cents a gallon. But not everybody bought that, so that was fine. I live with it. The other one, they didn't want to drink caca from the faucet and ruin their body anymore. Was it everybody? No. But these are the values that I needed, and I got those values from the people during the conversation, and those are the ones who bought. Okay, so how did I determine who the ideal audience and customers were? Okay, and how did I attract them? I asked them a question about their values as it related to the product that I happened to be marketing. Remember? That's what we did. And how did I attract the ideal customer? Because once I knew who they were, I have to attract them, right? So that they do something like buy or at least test. And what I did at that time, because that's what we did, I had the value question and the value discussion. So we did that. And then they could test it for themselves. Now, first of all, I can tell you right now, I didn't let people test it if I didn't sense that they really, number one, would afford it and would buy it if they liked it. And one of the big problems I can see throughout the industry of marketing and network marketing and coaching is that way too many folks give out samples willy-nilly without knowing anything about the person. And then getting all their product back half opened or not back at all because you gave it to the wrong people. So before you give it to anybody, there are things you should do and ask to be sure that they're going to be a really genuine tester who can and will buy if they like it. And that's a very difficult thing for a lot of people to do, because you're so anxious to give away samples, thinking that giving away samples means you've done something. But all you've done is give away a sample. When we gave away sample, there's a whole training to go with it. Like, well, I'm going to call you in 2 days. I'll give you an example just here in just a few minutes. But do not just give out samples willy-nilly, because you're going to discover, if you haven't already, that you're wasting a lot of money. Remember, the company does not give you samples. Notice this. They want you to give out samples, but they don't give you samples. So you have to buy them. Therefore, since they're not giving them to you, that should alert you that there's something to giving out samples, and you should just not be giving them out unless you think you're Santa Claus, or you're doing charity. Okay? There are countless ways to describe your ideal customer and attract them. They're unending. You can create them on the spot. There's no like, here are the 3 ways or here are the 4 sentences. It really depends entirely. I just cooked this one up because I had the feeling about the water and the attitude about the waters. So it just came. So that's why you want to market stuff that matters to you, so that you can come up with your own emotional words, which is what I did, that represented my beliefs that the product was an extension of who I already was and the values that I had. Okay, so the essential focus is the ideal customer and how to attract them. That's really what I've been showing you here, how we do this. Now, so how to pack the house. Again, the first one, the initial approach, not about us or our product, and to be transparent that you are going to be selling stuff. Now, here's a little surprise. How many customers do you need? What I would suggest each of you do is figure out what you earn per customer per monthly order. Because you can get customers, onesies, and that's fine, but what you really want are monthly customers, people who order every single month, right? That's what you want. So ask yourself, what do you earn on your typical customer if they order every month for 12 months in a row? Yeah, if you earn $10 a customer, $15 a customer, 20, 30, 40, figure it out so that you know how many customers you need to get to your first income level. It might be 100 a month extra you want, or 200 a month extra. You don't have to start with 10,000 a month, because every person who gets to 10,000 a month got past $100 a month first. And if you make $10 per customer, you need 10 customers, assuming that you make $10 on their first order, the second order, the third order, the fourth order, whatever it is. Okay, you need to be able to figure this out. Who's your ideal customer? Okay, well, I showed you one way to do that by asking certain questions. That's what we did. And how to attract them. One of the things I did in that case, we had samples, so we let people try it. Okay. Now, the other thing you want to do is have an intrigue offer, and that's going to be something that I'm going to show you how to do, kind of a wow offer, when you set up your invitations for your event. And then you want to have a question close so people commit. And they're very interesting ways to quote unquote close. My idea of closing is somebody says, Kim, here's my credit card. Give me the biggest package. That's what I create, so that that's what happens. I don't want to be begging people. I don't like to hear no. Okay. And then the other thing you want to think about is how to keep customers after they buy at the event. Because if you have high-end products, that is, that they're at the high end, say you sell skincare, and you're paying $100 a month. A lot of other skincare companies, not only network marketing companies, there are like a half a dozen high-end skincare network marketing companies for just skincare. But outside of our industry, there's the regular department store counters. What do you have? Estee Lauder, you have My Clinique, you have Dr. Hauschka, you have Shiseido, a lot of high-end stuff. It's very big business. And those people are also after the same customers. I'm talking customers who are not also reps. So you want to have some strategies to keep customers after they buy. And it's not just making sure the product gets shipped. You got to do a little bit more for the high-end customers. Okay. So I want to just ask if you're ready to learn how to pack the house to get them to a party or an event that you run. Just let me tell you, I've had a lot of people tell me that they invite all their friends and everybody comes and nobody buys. Now, based on what I just showed you here, you want to invite based on shared values instead of just anyone. If I were going to have had a water party at my place, let's say I was going to have a water party, instead of the strategy that I used, which was at the end of every conversation, say, hey, by the way, let me ask you something, has nothing to do with anything. You got a sec? Yep. What's the question? It's about your water? Yeah, yeah. What kind of water do you drink? Do you drink this kind or that kind? And that's how it started. Now, if I were going to have a water party at my house and do samples and do all that stuff, who do you think of these people that would I invite? What answer would they have given? You think they'd be the ones who say, oh, I don't mind drinking the caca out of the faucet? Is that who I would have invited and give them wine and cheese?
Nope.
Yes or no? Why
Nope,
would
nope,
I
nope.
invite them, right? Right. The people who pay or who think, oh my gosh, caca out of the faucet, that sounds absolutely horrible. I'm coming. And we know that they don't live in a trailer, or they're not living on the street someplace. They are likely to be able to have a credit card and pull it out and pay, okay? So the shared values instead of just anyone. Now the risk, I just want to tell you something, because a lot of you have had a lot of trouble with home meetings where you don't sell anything. The risk with just anyone, when you call all your friends and say, oh, Lulu, you're going to absolutely love this. I'm into this new thing. Come on over. We're going to have wine and cheese. And you'll even forget to tell them maybe that something's going to be for sale. Here's the risk with inviting all your friends without knowing anything about them, based on what you offer, without you having asked any of this on the phone before you extend the invitation. Let's say we have a lot of high-end skincare folks, I'm fairly sure, but high-end anything. In our country, there is always a range of products. With skincare, you have the really low-end stuff, $5, $6, and you have stuff that's $300 a tube, probably $400 a tube for some of it. So that is a product range from low end, middle, and high end. Just like jewelry. You can buy trinkets at Walmart, and you can go to Tiffany's and spend thousands and thousands of dollars for a low bracelet or earrings. So you get the concept here. Every product usually has a range from low end to high end. And what that means is low end, probably quality, high end quality, but also low end cost and high end cost. So those are the two things. So what happens is if you have a party for your high-end skincare product and you invite everybody without knowing a thing about them, I'm talking about your friends, right? That you people contacts, neighbors, so come on over, or you're having a new party, blah, blah, blah. And you might give a bunch of samples away. If these people are using $6 ponds or the equivalent, how many do you think are going to want to switch, even if they get results, to a product that is $85 a month instead of $6? Okay? How successful do you think that's going to be? Are you going to make a lot of sales, you think? Yes or no? What do you say? See, are you going to say, well, my product's no good? Are you going to say, I'm no good? Are you going to say, my friends are no good? If she's spending $6 or $7 or $8 or under $20 per month, and you have an $85 product, this is the risk that you have, that most people won't buy, and you'll think it's you, or you had crappy cheese, and it has nothing to do with it. This is why you want to find out the values before you extend the invitation. And I've just shown you one of many ways that you're going to learn to do that. Okay? Just want to be sure that you get that. Now, when you back to the main event here, when you do events, you can do them at bookstores, libraries, you can do them at your house, a friend's home, a community center. And one of the last events we did, we got, when I say we, we're talking about Vic Link and I, who've been working together for 20 years in network marketing businesses. She's been my top distributor in every company I've done. In fact, she was in the business when I recruited her. So we got 110 people to show up when only 90 people had confirmed. And I'd like to be able to show you how to do that, because we both have created a blueprint for an overflowing event, for how to get that. And so for the rest of this presentation, I'm going to show you what program I have that I'm offering you with some very special bonuses. So if there are some of you on the call who just wanted to come get the information that I have so far, you're welcome to stay or not stay. Believe me, I have no feelings about it at all. If you want to learn how to pack the house, I can show you how to do that, because we know how to do that from having done it so many, many times. And it's about values. And when you do that, and about what you offer, and a trick I'm going to show you that Steve Jobs used, you will never have an empty place. If you are responsible for the inviting or training the person who's going to be doing the inviting, because there are a lot of ways to invite. Many of the times it's not even you, okay? So some of you are going to kind of go, well, you know, I don't know, my warm market's dead. I don't have any credibility, or I don't have enough credibility in any way. I can't sell on the phone. And I don't know how many of you are feeling like that here, but probably some of you do have warm market that's totally dead, and you do feel like you've lost whatever credibility you had, and you can't sell on the phone. And sell meaning selling on coming to the meeting. And I just want you to know that with what I'm going to show you, people that had totally dead warm markets have had a full house. And people that did not have credibility, they didn't in this area, have gotten a full house. And people who were certain they couldn't sell on the phone and don't sell on the phone have gotten a full house. So there are ways around all of these things. We have beliefs. And it's kind of like we figure, well, the warm market's dead, so therefore I can't. Well, this is actually a bum belief. There are ways around your warm market. You don't have credibility, there are ways around that, and I can show those to you. Of course, that's what we're going to be doing. So so long as you're above ground, there are ways around almost everything. The only thing I can't help you with is if you don't want to. If you don't want to, well, then you don't want to, and then that's it. Then that's a choice. Then it's not about you can't, but you won't, and that's entirely fine. It's up to you. Remember, free world. So you have to decide how you want to build your empire, how you want to make your fortune. You want to decide how you want to have your impact and make a difference in this world while you're here. So however you decide to do it, do it. And then just make your decision, and then learn how to do something that you really want to get good at, okay? I just want to say some did it without warm market, without credibility, and without selling on the phone, okay? So you're ready to learn how to do that also? Because if you are, I'm going to show you this little program that we have. Yes? You want to see the next part here? I see you're so sweet.
Yeses.
Oh, okay, good. All right, good. So here's how it goes. How to pack the house. Okay, this blueprint includes a number of things. First of all, 3 questions that you have to ask before inviting people. And if you get this right, you will never have to worry about filling the room. I promise you, 1000%. If you have to ask these questions, and once you get it, you won't have to worry about filling the room, okay? The WOW event planner. Now, 7 questions to answer before you plan your event. You have to answer these for yourself so that you get it right. Remember, planning is a very big deal, and most of us forget it. We execute stuff before we really know too much or plan strategically, and so you end up doing everything 10 times because you have to keep doing it over and over and over and over because you didn't know enough and plan it well enough to do it right. But that's kind of a human thing, so that's kind of how it is. A 14-point getting started checklist and a 7-point checklist for the room setup. Now, we call this the WOW Event Planner, and there is a reason we call it the WOW Events Planner. And it comes right from Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, his goal in what he managed to do somehow in all his presentations over the many years, I've watched every single one of them since he came on the scene, I believe, 1975. And there was one event in particular I'm going to tell you about right now to show you why this is called a WOW Event Planner. Jobs one day in 1985 or 1986 walked onto the stage, and he had with him on stage something on wheels that was about as tall as his shoulder. And it looked like some kind of a big old computer, and it had a big sheet over it, some kind of a sheet, something covering this thing up that was about as tall as his shoulder, and maybe, I don't know, 2 feet wide and 2 feet the other way. And so he walks onto the stage and looks at that thing, and everybody sitting in the audience is looking at this thing with this big cover over it, and what is that thing? And so at that time, Apple had not produced any printers, and they were still talking about the Macintosh and the Macintosh Plus. And the printers on the market were the kind of printers that would print on that funny paper on rolls. That's the kind of paper that it was. And it was kind of thermal paper. And if any of you were around then, you know that paper was really thin and the ink was really thin on it. Kind of looked like Ditto Masters, but it was black. That's the way things were run in those days. That's how we printed stuff on computers. So he comes on stage and he brings out a piece of paper, just one piece of paper, 8.5 by 11, and the camera zooms in, and he shows a beautiful laser jet printed page to the camera with a regular 8.5 11 by 11 sheet of paper, which had never been seen before, except when you go to the Kinko's and places like that. Nothing like that had ever come from any printer connected to a computer until he was going to show them something that day. It just didn't happen. So he shows the audience this piece of paper. The camera zooms in. Everybody's seeing this piece of paper with beautiful laser jet print and font. And he says, would you like to have a printer that gives you this? That's it. The audience went ape. If any of you ever were around, you can find this stuff on YouTube. They all stood up and screamed and said, because you see, there were so many people at the MAC meetings, at the events, who were writers and authors, and they wanted to be able to write books and things that people could print out. And nobody wanted these thermal rolls of paper, you know. That's what it was in those days. And he said, well, you can have it because I have something that's going to give you this. And the whole place stands up. I don't know how many people, 1,000, 2,000 people. And he walks over to this thing that's on the stage with him and pulls off this sheet in one fell swoop. And there is their Apple Laser Writer. That's what it was called. It was a printer. I think they sold 200,000 units that day. He never talked about the technology. He didn't talk about what went into the printer. He didn't talk about the speed of it. He didn't talk about the ink. He didn't talk about how they made it or how wonderful it was. No. He showed one piece of paper that showed print and font on it that people had been wanting for 5 years. And he said, I can give you this. Do you want it? And they said, yes, we'll buy anything that gives us that. And that's what happened. And that's why I call this the Wow Event Planner, because we're going to show you how to run events where you wow your people like that. Does everybody see how this works? You want to know how to wow people? Because this is what you do. And it's not going to be by showing just a little company video. That's not going to do it. That won't be enough, okay? So you're going to get your Get Started worksheets. You clarify your goals and your reasons for providing your in-home meetings, okay? You get the book, If My Product's So Great, How Come I Can't Sell It? Most of you have that probably, but if you don't, it's an ebook that has lots of actionable strategies, lots of scripts that you can use so you sound like a normal person, okay? A one-liners audio, this is one of my favorite things. When you have the brother-in-law who goes, are you still doing one of those things? Is this one of those things? You know that? This has lots of short little answers that will make the other person smile and melt, and they're all words a 13-year-old can understand, okay? So the blueprint for this class that contains all this stuff that I just showed you, plus the how-tos for the first part of this presentation, is called the Helper Healer Marketer on how to pack the house. Now, for those of you who want to see what that is, you can type into your computer imasterinviter.com. Just type it in like that, see if the link works. Remember the little I, masterinviter.com, okay? I have gotten some wonderful reviews of this program, and we want to add some really special bonuses for people who've always wanted to learn how to do this. They knew they could, they just need to know how. So I'm going to entice you, okay? Because so many, in fact, a couple people the other day got it because of the bonuses. So here are the bonuses. How to pack your own events. The blueprint itself, the Helper Healer Marketer, is not $9.97 and it's not $4.97, it's $2.97, okay? Now, here's what comes with under certain conditions. The Art of Recruiting audio programs, my #1 selling recruiting program that I have had here for some years. It's got about 12 MP3s, and you get that with it. I have the 100 Customers, 100 Days. That's the Big Kahuna audio program for how to build 100 customers in 100 days network, okay? And then, for the first 7 people who buy this program right now, after this is done, you get a 30-minute one-on-one with me or with Vic Link. And we prepared this program together. We have run hundreds of meetings together. And that 30-minute time together will, once you go through the program, we will help you make sure that you've got everything fine-tuned and set up so that your first one gets you a full house. And that's the reason there are only 7 of those, is because it's, it takes time. And we normally give you a little bit more anyway, but we want to help people. I want to help you pull this off. And let me give you a warning. If you are somebody who wants to clone what your upline does, and they're not really succeeding, or you want to only play by the book that the company has, this type of program is not going to be for you. This is for creative people where what you're doing is not working, you want to do something different, You want to do something that you know is based on values, where you pull in the right people who will pay the price because they share the values. And then the company comes to you afterwards, like they did to me, and they say, how did you sell so much stuff? Come on stage and tell us how you did that. Because companies are not allowed to restrict your marketing activities. They can guide and they recommend because they want to be helpful. But you can show the company video or not. You can have company paraphernalia at your meeting or not. It depends on you. So they help you with those things if you're totally new and you have no idea what you're doing. And if you've done those things and now there's nobody coming and it isn't really working and you're not excited anymore, this is for you. And it's also for you if you know that sales and marketing is about values. If you love what you've got and you know there are people out there who would want this, if you could just find them, this is exactly what this is about. Then it's for you, okay? So the iMaster Inviter, would somebody go click on that link and tell me if it opens? Just make sure that it opens. Does the link work? It works. Okay, good. All right, so the next thing I have for you, so you go there and you get the blueprint. That's the Helper Healer program for $297. Now I've got a surprise, okay? The bonus for 24 hours is the 100 customers in 100 days for $97. It's on the house. The Art of Recruiting for $97. And then the one-on-one with Kim or Vic for the first 7 of you that do this, okay? Now, here's the surprise. Again, imasterinviter.com. Just go there, just the letter I, like iMac, iPod. So that's like a value of $791, which you can have with the blueprint for the $297. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, I'm kind of tight. So we have 2 options. One is a 1-pay for $297. And then we cooked up a 2-pay, $160 now and $160 in 30 days. So that would cost you a total of like $320, okay? And you will still get the bonuses that come with the program. Now, of course, I'm assuming that you guys are on my list and you're genuine people, so there's nobody looking to take advantage here, but I will totally trust you for it. If you do the work, you can get in for $160 right now. You'll pay $160 more in 30 days, and you will get the bonuses. And a one-on-one with me probably after your second payment clears. But I'm here to help you. This is what I know how to do better than probably anything else that I know how to do, is pack rooms. We packed out this event, okay? I just want to make sure that you have this clear. So the bonuses for the 24 hours, the 100 customers, 100 days audio program, it'll all come into your Kim Klaver Academy area, the Art of Recruiting, and the one-on-one with Kim or Vic. And I believe that is what I have for you guys.
There is one question here.
Yeah, shoot.
Kim. Did you cover the 2 critical planning items you might be overlooking?
Yes, the 2 critical planning items are that you need to figure out who your ideal customer is and how you're going to attract them. Most people don't do that. What do? They call everybody on their list because that's what the company or the upline says, and invite everybody. So those are the 2 things. So the first item was the first overlooked item is that when we invite people for that first time, not to talk about us and our product and how great we are, and to be transparent that this product's going to be sold. And the 2 overlooked items are that we need to know who the ideal customer is for our product, and we need to know how to attract them. And these are the 2 things I showed you how I did in the water filter company. Does that help?
Yep, she's got it.
All right. Okay.
Here's another question. You see that?
Kathy Arno, you are so sweet. Girl, there's nobody that I can't even imagine that there's anybody that I would rather help than you, although all of you are my friends here, because I'll tell you, just for those of you that are listening, a lot of the folks that are here are old customers of mine. And I have been in sort of a rampage. I mean, I'll tell you, I made kind of a dumb mistake. This past year, confession time, I guess, I have done a lot of work online. I've really gotten pretty good at Facebook. They trick me once in a while, but I'm a pretty good Facebook advertiser now. I know how to build on Facebook. And my last 2 companies I built on Facebook, totally and completely on Facebook. And people want to know how you did that. Well, I thought everybody wanted to build on Facebook. So I have been releasing programs and marketing how to market on Facebook. Well, about a year ago, I went and did a session for a skincare company for a couple of friends of mine. We've been friends for, 15, 20 years. And they had a couple hundred people on the call, and they wanted to know how to get customers. And I said, well, how do you guys want to do it? Do you want to do it online? Do you want to do it live? We want to do live. We all do. These are people all in their 30s and 40s. So that's the generation, after me, because they're a whole generation younger than I am. I'm kind of like getting up there. And so these were in their 30s and 40s, and they said, no, we want to do home meetings and we want to talk to people. And I was like, all right, then. I know how to do that. I've been doing that for 20 years. I love talking to people about what I do, any place, anytime, anywhere. I can give you a zillion lines, but they're all based not on how great this is and, oh, you have to have this and, oh, how could you drink the caca out of the faucet? No, it's all, what do you do now for this? And that's, you instantly get the values. And then what you learn is how to process that so that it works for you. And so that you do feel the house, and it might not even be a house. This is a house because we love doing live events. Vicki and I don't know if you're on the phone, Vic, but that's what she did, and that's what we did, and we filled the place. We had so many people, we had to do a session in the morning and a session in the afternoon. So it's kind of like, that's kind of how it is. And so when they said they wanted that, I thought, all right, I'm going to make these programs that I've used for so many years, update them and make them available to people who really don't want to learn online just yet. So here you are. I mean, that's kind of how it is. All right, so I'm delighted that we have. Yeah, Cassie, you're in here. You're going to be definitely one of the first 7. Let me see who else we got here, because we have quite a few orders. Mm-hmm. Mark, we got you. You're going to be in. Yeah, there's quite a few of you. Mm-hmm. Oh goodness, you're going to be close, you guys. But this is what I want to offer you, because you can do it today. People are even more worried today about coming to a party. And it's because people hide that it is a party. But you see, if you think about Steve Jobs. He said, do you want this? And he held up a piece of paper. And they said, yes, we want that. What have you got that gives us that? And then he could have given him a bloody washing machine on stage and said, this washing machine, if you dip your computer in it, it will turn out this kind of paper with this kind of print on it. They would have sold 200,000 washing machines that you dip your computer into, because it's not the technology that sells most people. It's solving a problem that they have. And if they have it badly enough, they'll pay the price. And your job is to put that out there, those feelers, so you see who it is, without having to say anything that's offensive to someone else. So that's kind of what you want to do here. I think we're pretty close to our 7 here. Any other questions about this?
Yeah, there's a question here about, can you use this technique about the business opportunity?
Oh my gosh.
Rather than products?
Oh, it's the Pope Catholic, honey, for sure. But you have to ask again. You're going to ask a different question. Mm-hmm. And it is not, are you open to different ways of making money? That is so old and so, it's retarded. I have never said those words to anybody. And I know that I have friends who are gurus who teach that. But you see, that's kind of like saying, if I ask you, would you all like more money? Would you like to raise your hand? I just would not even ask you that. I wouldn't insult you like that. Of course you want more money. God wants more money. Every Sunday, what goes around in all the churches, or whatever you call them in the world? Collection plates. Hello? So that's a stupid question. It's, how do you want to make an impact, and how do you want to make your money? What do you want to do in this world with your life, for yourself, for your family, and for other people, so that you feel like you have maxed yourself out, you have done your thing, and you leave the place better than you found it? And forget about your upline and your sideline and your company. It's about building you. I'll tell you, if I were to say tomorrow, I think I'm going to sign up for a new company, whoever it is, I mean, I don't need to brag about it. I mean, I think whoever it is going to say to their distributorship, guess what? Kim Klaver is coming to our company. Why? Because I have built myself up over the years. In 70 days, I'm going to have 300 frontline new people, recruiters. Why? Because I've built myself up. People know if they come, they're going to have teaching and support like they don't have anyplace else. Because I know how to do this. That's why. And you build yourself up so that you become so valuable to your company that you sell so many units or you recruit so many people that they come to you and say, how did you do that? That's my goal for you. Okay, that's my goal for you. Okay, so Kathy, you're in. I think somebody else trying to order. I think we're going to be like right there. You better hustle. So for Kathy B, what do you have there? The description does not. No, the description. This is the name of this webinar. So Kathy, the name of the webinar is How to Pack the House. The name of the program that you're getting, plus the bonuses, is Helper, Healer, Marketer. And you get that. Let me know that you got that, okay? Kathy B, it's Helper, Healer, Marketer. That's the one you're getting. So let me know that you have that. That is the name of the program.
She got it. She got it.
She got it? Okay, cool. All right, good. Good. Yeah, that's it. And it shows you how to pack the house. That is exactly what it does. The reason we named it Helper, Healer, Marketer, for those of you that are kind of curious, is that in our field, first of all, we're 80 to 85% women. And many of the women are sort of helper, healer minded. For example, Dr. Quila. If there's ever been a helper healer on this planet, it's her. And people want to help and they want to heal. And that happens to be sort of a thing with a lot of the women. Some of the men too. This is not a wussy thing. It's just they want to help first and collect money later. And that's really what Steve Jobs wanted to do too. Don't think he wasn't about money, but he wanted to help so much that he created products that were 10 times better than anything that was there because of the love and respect that he had for his customers, who he thought were people like Picasso, people like Gandhi, people like Martha Graham, people like Amelia Earhart. That's who Steve Jobs, was making his computers for, and he wanted them to be so easy to use that it would not detract these great people from their mission, but would help them do it better and faster. That's what he was about. So you see, that's the story. And that's why we call it the Helper, Healer, Marketer. Is what you're doing now working for you, yes or no? If it's not, consider something new. And if it is, you have an approach here that you can pass on to people in your group that are not doing as well as this.
Thank you, thank you, thank yous. Lots of thank yous.
Yes, good, good. And Patrice, if you get a few of these under your belt and you get good at this, let me tell you, you want to hear a little surprise that I didn't even tell you that is a benefit from learning how to do this?
Lots of ASs here.
Yes. Okay, let me tell you. You know online that there is something called a webinar. This is what we're doing right here. I'm doing what they call a webinar, right? And we're recording this. And of course, I have to edit, take out a lot of the crap. But I'll have a nice little thing when it's done. And that's just what this means. If you do an event at your place and it's a really good event and it pulls and it does it right, you will be able to take that and videotape it or videotape something very similar to it. You know, turn a camera on and don't be freaked. If you can get up in front of a room and stand straight, then when somebody has a camera on, if they're not all obvious and over the place, you won't even notice. And then you take the thing and you edit it and you make it into a webinar or a video and you put it on your blog and it can play 24/7. And I'll show you how we do that. And then you can have a little order form. And the way you do this, of course, is this is where we want to be sure you don't run into trouble with your company. So I'm all over that. So don't worry about that. But we'll have a way for you to present so that people come onto your email list and say, I want to know how to do that. I want to know how to do this. And then from your email, you'll talk to them on the phone if you want to and take orders with whatever it is that you're marketing, either as a distributor or as a customer. So do you see the beauty of being able to do this way? Can you all see? I mean, is this exciting to the point where you just can't even talk? See, to me, this is like, holy moly. It can be going 24/7 and your email fills up with people who say, I want to know more, I want to know more. And they're all pre-qualified, you see, because they've taken the time to engage and sit through your session. Have you got it?